an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Some Spoil, the Song of Ice and Fire, to the co-host switcheroo, the rereading, except it's a first watching. We are covering House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 6, Smallfolk.
I'm sorry.
In this episode, we have got a new dragon rider. We have got rioting in the streets. We have got some smooching. There's a lot going on, and yet people are still out here being like, this show's too slow. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm RoShawn.
All right. Here we go, kiddos.
Here we go with the episode that almost didn't happen.
Yeah. So first off, I just want to just say thank you so much to everybody who threw into the GoFundMe that I set up because my computer just died on me. I am actually using said computer right now. Because I wiped the disk and reset it, but I have been warned by somebody who actually knows what the fuck they're doing for a change at the Genius Bar. He was able to prove to me that I am not bonkers, that there is a computer issue, and even though the hardware checks say that it's fine, it's because it is not a solid state hard drive and it is getting older and the hard drive is beginning to wear down, and I am using a lot more power than I realized because of, not having enough RAM and whatnot. And so I'm able to use it temporarily, but he was like, its days are numbered. And I couldn't believe how fast the money was raised in the GoFundMe to get a replacement machine. Thank you guys so much. Every time I do this, it's done so quickly. And then when I eventually have to do it again, I forget how quickly it happened last time. And I'm shocked all over again. Mm-hmm. But I just really, really appreciate all of you out there who threw in, who are, giving me advice on what to do, because I've been in the Discord, like deciding if I want to switch to a PC or what, there's all kinds of options out there. And it's just been a big process, and it's a little overwhelming, and I appreciate all of the support, and just appreciate that people care enough about what I produce that you want me to keep doing that. It's nice. It's nice to know that. So thank you, everybody, so much. And I will be... Though I will still have some downtime eventually, because I won't get into it, but there's going to be a point where I have no computer as I'm transitioning to the new one. And so I'll be keeping you guys all abreast of that. I'm not sure if I'll be able to edit this episode right away, but I wanted to try and record it at least right away so that RoShawn and I were still fresh on the episode. And I can hopefully try and edit from my laptop if this is giving me problems. So anyway, all of that aside, thank you so much. This community is always just pulling through and shocking me, and I shouldn't be shocked anymore. But then what would I be? Just taking it for granted? That's not good.
That's not a good option.
Yeah, so what did you think of this episode, RoShawn? Give me your out of 10 rating.
Out of 10, I give this a 7, 6.5 or a 7.
Okay. That's fairly solid.
Yeah. It wasn't like the best episode of the season. I appreciate it. And I feel like I said this last episode. It was a lot of table setting. It was again table setting, but it was just a different angle.
Yeah.
I think what's going on with me, and I'm going to be very honest with you guys, right? I'm going to be a little vulnerable with you all. Now that the reality of the story that's being told is settling in after Rook's rest,
Correct.
right? After that episode, I realize I may not necessarily be here for the demise of the dragons and this war in a way that I thought I was going to be here for it. Meaning, I don't know if I want to see it, y'all. Like, I know we're moving to it, but I find that, like, I want the action. It's like life. I want the action, but I don't want the consequences of the action, you know? So they're sort of taking their time and kind of, I heard on the interwebs, and I think I said I made this clear already once before. I'm sorry if I am repeating myself, but I want to just make it very clear. I am not treating this property with the sort of avoid spoilers at all costs that I do with, like, Song of Ice and Fire, the books, or like any other property that where I'm the unspoiled one, because one, this is such a different, unique situation where the source material is written in such a way that's very open for interpretation. And I found that a lot of times book readers have been saying, oh, this thing's going to happen next. And then that thing doesn't happen at all. Right. So I've been, like, in the streets a little bit more than I normally would be for a property where I'm supposed to be, air quotes, unspoiled. So I say that to say, I saw in the wild someone saying that in the source material, Damon just straight up disappears for a while. And so, like, the show is doing this extended Harrenhal thing because they got to have something for fucking Matt Smith to be doing. You can't just not have him on the show for more than half a season. So I was like, oh, all right. I wish they had found something better for him to do. But I'm trusting that there's going to be a payoff there. And we get a little bit of that payoff in this episode, I think.
I agree. Yeah. And this is the thing that we run into a lot with the way that the books are structured and the way that stories are told is sometimes a character has to be off page and actors have contracts, and then you just have to figure out this the Theon thing. You know, we just had to watch Theon getting tortured, which was no fun because you know, he's Theon and he has to stay, but so yeah, this and you know, the thing with Damon is tiresome for sure. I'm definitely kind of over it at this point, you know. I'm like, let's wrap this up. But I have to admit that I kind of have been enjoying the magical quality of what's going on with him, because everything else, like, feels so grounded in politics despite dragons. It just feels so, you know, real in so many ways. And I feel like that got lost a lot in the translation from the main book series to the TV show. There's a lot more magic in the books than there is in the show. So I kind of enjoy it just for that aspect of, like, okay, well, we're just going to throw in a lot of really weird shit and kind of make up for things. It feels like in a lot of senses, the writers are, and I may just be projecting, but it feels sometimes like the writers are trying to take advantage of the second chance to do stories a little bit more carefully than they were done in the original, and including some more of that. And there's, like, almost, we were talking about how Rhaenyra is maybe a little too nice, like too good. Maybe they're trying to do more of a, like, slow turn Daenerys thing, but Daenerys was done so fucking abruptly that we're just not used to seeing that actually done in real time, you know? So I don't know. I'm trying to be cool with it.
Yeah.
You know, my success is varying, but what can you do? All right. So let's begin this. It's very funny to me because when, if anybody out there is also in the Discord, there was a little bit of chatter last time about our comment regarding how this series has done a little bit more with the Smallfolk POVs. And there was some back and forth on whether that was like strictly true or not. And then this episode being literally named Smallfolk just made me giggle a little bit. So
I'm surprised there was discussion about that. I mean, we got I guess we got some Smallfolk in the main or the original run. Mm-hmm. But
I think the point was made that it was like a lot less Smallfolk POV. We are around Smallfolk with like Brienne's storyline, you know, traveling the Riverlands and the way that she meets people, and we hear about their stories, and Arya being mixed in with regular people.
Yeah.
But this is like we are actually spending time with only them, not through the eyes of somebody of nobility.
Exactly. That's the difference, in my opinion. That's like that's the main switch.
Yeah,
is that these people that we're meeting exist separate from the noble characters that we are like introduced to. Like they have their own lives. They're not like if one of the main POV characters of Song of Ice and Fire isn't talking to a Smallfolk person at the time, that the feeling is that they just cease to exist.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's been, you know, they have their own internal lives that are going on, their own concerns, and have, you know, may never be in the presence of, well, I'm starting to think some of these small folks we've met will shortly be in the presence of noble people. but we got to spend some time with them before that happened.
Yeah, this I'm so sorry. I just, for some reason, my brain immediately went to like, if the small folk aren't on the screen, everybody should be asking where the So we start out with one of the Lannister twins, which it's like that one actor doing both of these roles.
Yeah,
and I had forgotten they were twins. And I was like, what is he doing here? Very confused, you guys.
Yeah, this is Jason Lannister, right?
Yes.
And the one that's in King's Landing is Tylan, I believe.
Yes, that sounds right.
Yeah. But I mean, they're the same actor, but they're also the same person. Like,
yes. Well, you know what? I want to agree with you just because fuck the Lannisters, really. But his voice is different here as this other twin. He sounds like a much bigger snot-nosed brat.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, yes. To your point, yes. What I meant more was just that, like, the same sort of Lannister arrogance and the way they talk to people around him. Though this Jason guy, because he is clearly a warrior and the brother is more of a politician, this guy brings a little extra edge to him.
Yeah. But,
like, I don't think that Aegon is telling this guy to give Jaehaerys a piggyback ride. But Aegon isn't telling anybody. Yeah, I was about to make a real bad dead baby joke, y'all. Ooh, I'm so glad I caught myself.
God, I am so glad those went the way of the dodo. There was a period there, y'all, where it was just like all
those books you could buy. Oh yeah.
I never knew about the books.
There were books you could buy of like 101 tasteless jokes, and they would be filled with like racist jokes and dead baby jokes. You don't remember those? And they would get passed around class?
No, I do not remember. Yeah. I'm assuming those weren't sold at the Scholastic Book Fair. No, like, I do not.
I used to remember a lot of them because they were everywhere. I'm not going to say any of the jokes because it would be wildly inappropriate. But yeah, it was a real thing. Like, 1001 tasteless jokes. Oh, yeah.
What are we doing, guys? What is this that we're doing?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ugh.
Yep.
All right. So this dude is like, all right, well, we have our fighting men, 500 of them. We are ready to go. And Jason is like, yeah, I have way, way more men than you. Also, I don't know if you've noticed, but I have a literal lion in a cage. Why? Because I can. It's awesome. Don't ask me questions. You don't get the right. But we are quite tired. We also need a dragon because our asses are exposed. We're going to just kip here for a while.
Yeah.
Something to eat, chill, play some cards.
We heard
and
about what
see
happened
we
last
see.
time. There was an
Yep.
attack. So we're not rolling up anywhere. The Lannisters marching with actual lions was so funny and also so satisfying. Because I'm pretty sure that there was a mention of it at some point, in the books that's how they used to get down ages ago. But to see it on screen, I was like, these motherfuckers really do ride with like whole ass lions.
They're just doing it.
Just okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, I'm going to need you to tell Aemon, like you said, that we need a dragon, post haste. With just some like real fucking, and then it cuts immediately to Aemon being like, "This motherfucker talking about post haste. He can't tell me to go anywhere to do anything." And the brother is like, the Thailand who's left there is so uncomfortable at the small council meeting.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing for it to just be a member of your family who's like saying some shit, but it's a twin, right. So that feels like extra. Not awesome.
And Aemon like gets up and goes and stands behind him while he's talking.
Aemon is prowling around this council chamber.
Oh my god!
It's really giving Snape a little bit for me, like the way that he would go around the classroom and just like kind of hover,
Shit. He is. He's skulking.
He could be a pretty good young Snape, actually. But yeah, this, you guys, this scene, there's a point as he is just like, the fuck I will do what he says. We're going to, work on this blockade. First of all, we need to get this down. So we're going to go and treat with the Triarchs. And, this is a whole other thing that he's focusing on. Mm-hmm. And Alicent is like, they are not to be trusted. They're going to tell you what you want to hear and like basically waste your time. And your father knew that they were like this. Mm-hmm. What about the Greyjoys? And it turns out that we have reached out. They have not done anything. And it really feels like the man is just sitting there waiting to see who the winning side is. And he just doesn't want to commit yet. But yeah, so this is like the one time that she really contributes in this meeting, and he shuts her down pretty horribly later
Shuts her down. And in the meeting suggests that maybe what they need to do is marry her off.
Isn't it the other lord that suggests that? Yeah, it's the oh my god, I can't remember his name. Dude with the black beard.
And one I keep saying that he's a Baratheon of some kind because of that.
I keep thinking that too.
But I don't know what it's based on.
I'm looking to see if there's sigils on him, but no, I don't see anything, so I'm not sure. Sorry, everybody. I'm sure just people are yelling at us who he is.
But you're right. He is the one who suggests it.
So the Kristen tries to be like, your mother's right, and throw in his support behind her. And you can see her sort of looking at him like, they're not making eye contact or anything, but there's a moment of sort of, wow, thank you, somebody, and Aemond pretty much like just dances right past that and is like, Kristen, you are going to go out there and you are going to meet Daemon in the field. And he's like, what? I don't have the men for that. We lost a lot at Rook's Rest.
As you well know, he throws in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some reluctance on Cole's part to be engaging in the field again. And I, even though he says, we lost a lot of men, it feels like there's, I don't want to say he's being like a bitch, but I will say that he is maybe kind of a little shook from the last encounter and everything that he saw. And he's not necessarily eager to get back out there just yet. Mm-hmm. Which, I wouldn't really either. Quite frankly.
It really feels like this is a person who thought he knew what it was to have like a dragon in a fight. Mm-hmm. And is very quickly coming to realize that he does not know actually anything about that life. Which, that's how it be sometimes. And then you're in it and you're like, oh, I didn't actually. And when Kristen asks, like, well, what are you going to be up to? He says, I'll fly out and meet you when the time is ripe. My uncle's challenge is most welcome if he dares to face me.
He is obsessed. He is obsessed with Damon. And I don't, well, we know for a fact Damon is not thinking about him right now at all. If ever. But Eamon is just like, yes, my arch nemesis.
I absolutely love how whenever there's like a one-sided sort of, I'm not even trying to pretend that Damon isn't thinking about Eamon, but it's just, he is so not a priority. It's just Eamon has no concept of what's really going on. Who would, what's going on with Damon is fucking weird.
Yeah, but that's true. That's fair enough. Like who could imagine that's what's happening at Harrenhal right now? Except literally everybody who knows anything about Harrenhal.
I think that what's kind of going on, and I understand this, is the man sent men to kill you. You're going to take that personally, and you're going to focus on that person.
It's going to be a big deal for you. Like for the person that was, supposed to be attacked, it's going to be a huge deal for you. The person who was behind the attack, you're a problem for them, but you might not be the problem for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh
boy.
My God. So everybody gets dismissed except Allison is asked to stay behind. And this is hard to watch, y'all. This was hard to watch. You know how I feel about Allison. And this thing that's happening to her, I know there are parts of me that are really like enjoying it and the schadenfreude of it all, the just desserts of it all, the you bitch you had it coming of it all that shit is there. But there's also a part of me like, okay, like fuck Allison. But also at the same time, there is a part of me that is just like, has a little twinge of empathy for her because as we discussed so many times, this is a woman who was doing what she had always been told were the right things to do. Mm-hmm. And she, up to a point, played by the rules. She, like I said last time, got a little gassed up, because she was ruling for Viserys, who, by the way, I just loved seeing him in this episode. I forgot how much I missed him.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun thing as well with the Daemon stuff, is at least we're getting to see some of our old friends, like, young Rhaenyra and whatnot, so I can't get that mad about it.
So that was great. But so Alicent getting the fucking scales from her eyes removed and getting a real reckoning of just how much power she does not have.
Yeah.
And how quickly she's been turned aside by all the men in her life. Like all the men have like either physically abandoned her, whether it was their choice or not, like her father, or Viserys dying. her sons telling her they don't need her counsel, the fucking council not having her back when she needed it. Like, she's just got to be like, I think I made this joke last week, but the fucking that all this work and what did it get me?
Yep.
Like again with
why
that.
did I do it?
It's just like, damn girl, that's such an L. She's catching so many L's. It's like, it's almost like I have empathy, but I'm also highly embarrassed for her.
The thing that's like getting me, and it also related to what we said last time, we were talking about the fact that she didn't try to stop Rhaenyra from being queen because of her being a woman. That wasn't a factor with Alicent. And a lot of people are just like, oh, I didn't think the lions would eat my face. That meme, like,
yeah.
But that's not what she was doing. And so it's very frustrating for me for everybody to keep saying it as if that's what's happening, when that's like, that's completely, you're focusing on a story that's much more to the original book, but not what the show is doing. And what we were shown in the first season was that they were about to try and do a coup anyway. Her trotting out this whole like, oh, he told me on his deathbed that he changed his mind, seemed to just happen to dovetail with what they had been gonna do anyway without her, and they hadn't told her. So it's wild because I'm complaining a lot about how Alicent isn't being allowed to be a bad guy the way that I want, because I feel like the show is trying to soften her. But the show has softened her and people are still blaming her, which is really kind of fucked up. Like they it seems like softballed it because they were like, well, we can't have her be too unlikable. And it doesn't matter. And I can't tell if that's just like the way they wrote Alicent as being somebody who has no agency, and so we have no patience with her because of it, or if it's just straight up misogyny that we're just going to blame her, even though these men were all doing a thing, didn't even tell her about it, and basically winked and nudged when she told them what her husband had said because they just thought she was going along with their thing. So it's just like, everybody is like bagging on her in a way that I'm like, the show explicitly has told us that stuff is not how it went, and y'all are just straight ignoring that,
I think, I mean, for me, one of the main things that I have difficulty forgiving Alicent for was her misdirected rage against Rhaenyra, especially at the second half of the first season, where Alicent turns into this very, very self-righteous, cloaking herself in all the ornamentation of her religion. She's this very pious kind of, thing she's got going on. And this, like I said before, all of the rage that she had directed towards Rhaenyra because Rhaenyra was flouting,
yeah,
all the rules of propriety and like what befits her station and the kind of behavior she's supposed to be engaged in, and here Rhaenyra is, now flaunting these bastard children, and everybody has to pretend like they're not. And for Alicent, it was just unacceptable. And because she didn't or couldn't or wouldn't interrogate where those feelings were coming from and why she took it so personally and why she was so angry, and that made her very unlikable to me. But I, and that was enough. Like, I was just like, oh, ill.
Yeah.
Gross. That's gross. That's gross behavior. Ill. I don't like it. But yeah, the things that, like, there's a moment in this episode where she seemingly takes responsibility for the absolute train wrecks her two sons turned out to be.
Yep. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just a moment of her, like, feeling sorry for herself, or if it was a real moment of, like, what have I done? What have I been doing? Look what I raised. Look what
Yeah.
So I think we'll see, hopefully we see a little bit more of, because what does Allison become now? She's been booted off the council. She tries to go to her fucking safe space at church. You saw what happened there.
Yep.
Like where does the man's whose bed she's been lying in is back off into the wind fighting. Like, where does she go? Who does she go to? Her father's not answering her letters. Where does she turn? I am really looking forward to seeing that, even though that's not like big drama for this, might be considered kind of slow. I can't wait to see where this goes with Allison.
Yeah, and all of the things that you said about not liking Allison are completely valid, and also do not like that with her. Like, she's just I the thing that I keep reminding myself of is just the scene where she makes Rhaenyra walk all the way to them with the baby, while she's still fucking bleeding. I do not think people need to like her, but I want people to blame her for the things that she actually did.
Agreed.
And stop trying to put everything on her. We're not watching a whole season of women don't get to make decisions, because that's what the show seems to be about at this point, and she's still getting blamed for it, and it is just so classic. This is just what we do, There's a whole table full of fucking men making these decisions, and there's one woman who's not even really supposed to be there, and they're blaming her. Okay, yeah. Thank you, guys. Shut up.
She's like the ultimate bad guy of the show, when really she's like maybe 3 or 4. But yeah, we saw her be really unkind, and we don't tolerate that from women. We really don't.
Yeah, we don't.
We saw her be we're not getting what I've heard we get in the books with these women, but we did get moments of her being really cruel for no reason. And that scene that you just mentioned is a wonderful example of that type of cruelty and abuse of power. And she did it simply because she could, She
tried to fucking literally grabbed a knife to gouge out a child's eye. For her, that's crazy shit. So hate her. Just go ahead and hate her. But for real reasons. Can we just do it for real reasons? That's all I'm saying. All right. So, the whole way that he does this is set it up, asking her, what is your place on the council? Trying to get her to admit, I don't have one. And she's just saying, well, I served your father. And he's like, yeah, you did that. That was great. We needed you, but we don't now. We have me. So what are you doing? And you can just see the realization coming over her face, and how I just love this actress, because she really gets across that feeling of being so upset that you're nauseous.
She really does. She really does do a lot with just her face, I have to say.
Yeah.
And it's been really made very clear with the memes that are going around, where you don't even have to put people aren't even putting captions. They're putting captions on the whole series of memes, but her individual facial shots, they don't even need to caption them, because everything is on her face. It's just she's quite good.
And he, of course, has to do the whole, I'm sure now you'll be relieved to return to more domestic pursuits. And she is just sitting there I cannot believe. And then she reaches forward and puts her hand on his face and basically says, haven't you gotten over that shit yet?
Yep. How much more do you have to do to get over the indignities of your childhood? That's a fucking call out. That's a and it's true. He's still in this melodrama of being a a young boy with no dragon who got picked on, who's not the eldest, so he can't be heir. You know, trying to prove to a dead father that he was the right choice all along. You know, and you know, he went out and got the biggest dragon, and now I'm going to have the throne. I'm going to be the one that kills Damon, which is something my father could never bring himself to do. He wasn't strong enough to do it when he should have. Yeah, it's really not even that like fucking unique what he's doing. You know, it's so fucking like classic and just so fucking typical. Yeah. And then we cut to Rhaenyra's council. I love this table. I know we talk about it all the time, but my God.
It is really cool.
Table.
Yeah.
There's a really nice shot of it of Corlys, like just being by himself looking at the table before everybody else comes in. And you just get a real good shot of it. And it's just so good.
I always think, like, I don't know how much, because like this is something that I'm not good at spotting. Some people are really, really good at spotting fake accents or wigs or whatever. I am really bad at spotting CGI fire. And this looks very real to me. And I cannot tell if it's just CGI flames or not. So anybody who's better at telling that sort of thing, please let me know. Like, it's just quite convincing. But yeah, the design of it is, there's so many candles that I always just think, how many do they go through? Who do they source their candles from? Like, that's a lot of money. And he pins the hand pin to his little lapel and simply stands and waits for things to begin. And there's really no like I got the impression Rhaenyra wasn't told by him that he was coming, that he's just showing up. Do you think that's what's going on?
Yeah, like she sends the hand pin via Bella. But but then Bela sort of stalks off, and that's the last we see. So him showing up, I guess, is really kind of like, all right, I'm here. Like, you didn't know I was coming, but I'm here.
So yeah, she has like a moment where she just kind of looks at him, and you really get the sense of like her being really grateful. He says, "Your grace," and it's a moment.
It is definitely a moment. Especially when you consider that he could have stayed home in his rage about losing his wife being sent out alone. You know, he could hold that against Rhaenyra. He could be continuing to hold the death of his son against Rhaenyra, which is something I want to talk about later when we get to Sea Smoke. So she seems really grateful that he has decided that he's not going to hold Rhaenyra's feet to the fire for those things, and he's going to stand beside her. Yeah. And then this guy comes in, Sir Darklyn,
yeah. This is the guy who was dressed as a Septon before, and his father was killed, and his last words were like, "Fuck you, Kristen Cole, you're a piece of shit," basically. Do you remember him? He dressed as the Septon to smuggle her into King's Landing.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So this is that guy. And yeah, she's basically doing what her son suggested. She's like, so it has occurred to us that maybe there's some folks out there with the blood that might be able to claim a dragon. And he is like, are you shitting me? Yes, please. And she takes a moment with him and is like, I want you to know I'm not forcing you to do this. If you can't, I understand. You are risking your life. I hope that you really get the gravity of that. And he is basically like, I'm already sworn to give my life for you. What's the difference? You know,
yeah.
I might get to have a dragon.
Yeah.
Like,
turns out there's a little
that's
bit
a better
difference.
payoff. So yeah, they go down there and it is such a tense scene. You guys, I felt sick. I was so nervous in the scene.
The look on everybody's face at the council when she starts saying this, like, I'm assuming like they're looking like, this is crazy. What is she even talking about? This is what? So she doesn't seem as though she has discussed
Run this by them.
Right?
Yeah.
Which made me a little bit confused later when she smacks the guy and he's like, you remember that I said that this was a terrible idea. I know that there was like people rolling their eyes and huffing and puffing at the table, but there's one guy. No, the one guy does. He does say, I have to say no. This is no good.
Yeah,
but
he does actually speak.
Yeah. But everybody Rhaenyra ignores him. She doesn't even acknowledge that he's spoken.
Rightfully so.
And then the knight, Sir Stefan, is like, yeah, I'm fucking down. And he says the thing too about the dragons being gods, which is the second or third time we've heard someone say that. Which shouldn't be shocking to me, but I guess that is the correct reaction to something like a fucking fire-breathing dragon that only a very select few people can ride. And the significance of what she's suggesting, that you don't have to be pure blood Targaryen or even half Targaryen in order to ride a dragon, that like the faintest bit of blood might be enough, is just upending, hundreds
it's like blasphemous,
of years. It is,
Yeah.
It's like, suddenly deciding that somebody is a prophet of the Lord in the year 2020, which I guess people are still thinking that's a thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, like somebody just being like, oh, I talk to God like all the time. No big deal. Like, hey, me and him, calls me up all the time.
Like this. Yeah.
Like that's how wild this plan she has, that like regular mortal men, like a dude from around the corner, could just ride a fucking dragon. It just flies in the face of everything that they've ever believed, the Targaryens have ever said was the truth. And yeah, that whole scene when they go down there is well, there's a Daemon scene before we get to the dragon scene.
Yeah, but I just kind of want to talk about the dragon scene first. Daemon is not as exciting right now. Sorry, Daemon, but you know that I'm right. Because I am aware what's going to happen, but
with what are you talking about?
With him trying to get a dragon.
Okay. So this part is in the book and it goes this way with Stefan?
I believe, yeah. It was the sort of thing where I know who the dragon riders wind up being, and I know he's not one of them.
Right.
I don't remember if excuse me, if this is described in any detail or not. But yes, I knew that this was not going to end well.
But
I still felt such tension. I was like sick to my stomach over it in this scene.
I was so sure that it was going to end up being Adam that rode Sea Smoke. So when they do this with Stefan, I was like, well, fuck, I got that so wrong. I was like, God damn.
So you thought he was going to succeed?
Well, it was really tense because my instinct was like, it doesn't work on the first one they bring. Like, it doesn't work on the first one they bring. It just can't.
Right.
Like, the way you tell a story, it's never the first guy, right? So, like, part of my brain knew that. But as it was going on and it started to begin to look like it might even be successful, I was like, well, wait, what the fuck? And then I was like, well, what was the whole point of making them Corlys's bastards then? Like, and I got all, like, back and forth in my head. And then, boom, fire, and it was over, and it was all settled. It was all settled.
Indeed.
And I don't know. I guess we've seen this before, and I just forgot. But I think it's only the riderless dragons they have to sing to raise them. Have we seen that before?
I don't think so. No.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I really did like that. Just the idea of learning that, like, just the idea. Who chooses this profession? Who
Listen,
is out here like, you know what?
they-
I like. I get it in theory because dragons are cool as hell, and just being like, I would love to
they
work
are
with
out
dragons, but
here with
Jesus
just they're working with sticks.
literally,
Sticks. That's it.
it
That's
wooden sticks, by the way, which
Yes.
feels very like,
Give me some
you know,
iron.
that's fire, right? What do you?
It is, but yeah, I imagine it's like some kind of sacred ancient order, you know. And there was a woman singing, which for some reason I had just assumed it would be an order of all men because that's how these things tend to be and
It's
go.
true.
But no, there's a woman there, and the other question becomes: if anybody can ride, how are you going to command your dragon if you don't speak Valerian or High Valerian? But they are giving him the commands to say. And I was like, oh, well, I guess that works for this moment, but going forward, like I guess that's how they're
You'd
going
have
to
to
handle
take
it.
some like crash course,
But
Valerian 101, Valerian
the
for
way
dummies.
you know, Duolingo has a High Valerian course that I'm currently taking. I needed a break from my German, and they have High Valerian, so I was like, all right, I'll take that.
Why not? Go ahead.
It's fun.
How's it going?
It's fun. It's fun. The R's are weird. Like they roll.
How so?
Well, like they roll them, but it's not like a hard roll like you would get in like Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like the weird. I don't know. It's the R's in various languages prove difficult for me. The R's in German are also very difficult for me to pronounce, and I was never good with like rolling my R's for like French or for Spanish. I just really am not one for a second language, even though I desperately want to learn one.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, for my reading comprehension is much better than like my ability to say any of the words that I've learned. But yeah, you guys, Duolingo's free and High Valerian's on there, so like, go have some fun.
Yeah, I just like, I thought that they did a good job both here and in the later scene with Sea Smoke. Like, they timed it really well in both cases of like knowing probably how some shit is going to go, but the timing of it still startles you. So like, you know, here, as soon as he says, I've done it, I'm like, and it's all over. Here we go. And there's still just sort of a moment. So even though I knew it was all over, I still had a like, oh, wait, but did he though? And no, he did not, but it takes a second. And so I felt like, oh God, still. And then later on the beach, when he's there, he's like looking up at the sky and just like, where is it? I think I lost him. And then all of a sudden, Sea Smoke just crashes in from the right. And I was just like, Jesus Christ. Because it's like still and blue and just quiet. And you just really let your guard down for just a split second. And I was like, well done. Well done. Got me both times. All right. So, let's talk about
somebody in one of the fucking Thrones groups said that these guys were singing a remix version of End of the Road.
Oh my God.
I don't know why, but I laughed so goddamn hard when I read that shit. Jesus fucking Christ.
I really want somebody to make a meme of Boyz II Men standing there, please. Thank you.
So,
man, I remember my friends having such crushes on Boyz II Men, and I go back and look, and they were the dorkiest fucking guys. Oh my God. I think of them in my head as being real, like,
zero swag.
None.
No Riz. No Riz.
Indeed not. No. All right, so
the show does
Damon.
this thing too, really quickly. The minute Stefan gets lit up, it cuts to Adam, but there's no dialogue. The dialogue is Alan and Corliss in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, show. I see what you're doing.
Doing a little nod, a little
doing a little
elbow
nod.
in the ribs there.
But Damon.
I would be interested with this scene with Damon to find out whether or not this was like a reuse of the footage or if they had him come back to record this scene. I feel like it seems like they had him back because of the way they have him younger a little bit later and the way that the transition works. But, you know, they can do a lot with CGI these days, so who knows?
I think he came back because, and I was thinking this as I was watching it too, and I meant to Google it. There's a scene that Damon dreams, experiences, whatever is happening for him here, where he is comforting Viserys over Emma's body. Mm-hmm. And that did not happen.
No, it did not.
Right. So that's definitely him back for a new scene.
That's true. That scene, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the scene on the throne after when he's talking about, did you really say it, heir for a day after everything I've done for you, blah, 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 blah. Viserys takes his crown off and starts to cry. And I don't think that happened in the original scene. I don't think.
I feel like it did.
Did
but
it?
Damon had left. So this is Damon getting to.
Did it?
You know, I think so. I could be wrong, but I could have sworn
you might be right. You might be right.
Holds it together when he kicks Damon out, and then as soon as he walks out, he just sort of falls apart because he did not want to do this, and he is super hurt. The whole thing.
Yeah.
Why do you like this, buddy?
And so, then he can't get out. He's banging against the door. And then fucking the door opens and it's poor fucking Simon. Y'all, can we talk about Simon Strong for just a second?
Simon is just out here taking all of these hits. This shouldn't be asked of him.
Right.
This poor man.
What did he do to deserve Damon's mental collapse to happen in his fucking house? Like, what did he do? He didn't, he's just trying to, and these kids, these fucking kids of his, like, every time I see them, they're just, like, I don't know if they're useless, but they seem really useless. Yeah.
They're just sort of in the background cowering and just being like, oh, God, what do we do? Nothing, evidently.
Damon's got your father or whoever Simon is, I'm assuming it's his dad. He's got him all gripped up by the scruff of his neck. They're like trying to stand up, and Damon is just like, I need you to sit back down. And they're like, all right.
I literally can't blame them because I would not be trying to fight Damon. They outnumber him. I get it. But
a knife to their father's mouth. Like, I'm sorry. Even if you don't win, you gotta run up on him. You gotta. That's your dad. You gotta run. I know Damon's king. You can't just run up on a king. But he's not really king, though. He even gassed y'all heads up. He's not really the king.
But they know that. They just can't act like they know it.
Damon is like, your king is on his guard. That's such a crazy line.
Oh my God. Over and over again with this guy. He just says shit and I'm just like, okay, all right, enough. He's just so he just has this like self-seriousness to him that even though I understand that he is genuinely dangerous, I just can't quite take him seriously. You know what I mean?
And he's running away, like he's ready to leave.
Yep.
He's packed his little satchel, you know, which I'm looking at this bag.
Why did you have to call it a satchel? I don't know why, but that really took it to a different place and made it feel real goofy.
This bag does not seem period appropriate, but you know, I don't know. Something about it. I was just like,
get to that scene and see what we got here.
He's so mad.
Oh my God, I forgot how he just says, and stop watching me. And I'm like, dude, what are they supposed to do?
He's like accusing him of poisoning him. Like, you keep acting like this and they're going to fucking poison you for real.
How are you going to take the fucking drink this weird witch woman gave you and then accuse that man of poison? Are you fucking for real, dude? Hello?
He is not for real.
Anybody home, McFly? Jesus Christ, it's really not that hard. Oh my God, this bag, you're right. You're right.
Right? I'm not crazy.
That looks like fucking nylon, like tactical webbing. I think it's actually canvas, but it really does look like that bag is $600 on, if you go to like anthropology.com. You know, that's a genuine leather made by some 65-year-old man in Italy. He makes 4 a year, and this man is about to beat the hell out of it on Dragonback.
So yeah, he's stalking off because that's the only way he knows how to leave a room.
He really does just stalk. and I love how he like passes so close to her, and he's trying to really just walk by her. Don't fucking play. You want her attention. You want to talk to her. Mm-hmm, you're like purposely taking a route where you pass by her. You could get to your dragon another way. Do you take that way? No, you do not. But you can't like admit, he's so tiresome.
Yeah, someone's poisoned me. It's the food or the drink or the air, the swamp air maybe. And she starts talking about the ghost, and he just loses his shit. I'm done with all of this. And then she calls him, yo, you about to run, right? Because that's what you do. And then she lists all the places that he's either run from or run to.
I don't hear him yell, stop watching me to her about that.
You posted a meme that said that she is just Ramsey in a wig, and now I can't see anything but that. And it is so, it's such a shame.
I'm so sorry.
Such a shame.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, I almost don't want to share this because of that exact thing, that you won't be able to get it out of your head after, but I couldn't not do it. It was too good. But yeah, she's just very confrontational here.
Yeah, she just starts reading him, and she's really not wrong about anything that she says. She tells him, basically everything about you is why you didn't fucking get the crown. And he's like, well, Viserys never wanted it. Rhaenyra never wanted it. And she's like, yeah, that's probably why they were better at it than you would ever be. Because people who strive for it probably aren't the ones who need to be fucking having the power. And he doesn't care for that.
No, he doesn't. This man is very, it's really interesting to see him have this conversation, because I was expecting, after the dreams we've seen him have, where it's his mother like telling him how he's made for this, I kind of thought he might like repeat some of that, that maybe it had got to his head a little bit, and he'd be like, what do you mean? This is what I'm made for, and he doesn't. He really just kind of argues about ghosts, and then, well, I should get it because they didn't even want it, and that's it. And I really was surprised that maybe what's coming through in these visions isn't like having the effect on him that I was expecting it to have. Did you?
Right. I think that like all right. So he has the dream with his mother and wakes up feeling pretty good about himself.
Does he?
Well, up until a point. But then he's if I'm not mistaken, he's confronted by some Riverland folk who, I believe Austin corrected us that they were neither Blackwoods or Brackens. They were just regular folk.
Thank you for reminding me. I completely forgot about that. But yeah, we misunderstood that scene.
I absolutely misunderstood it. I mean, like, we have been dealing with Brackens and Blackwoods. Why would anybody else be in play?
Yeah.
But turns out there's lots of other people who have shit to say about shit that happens in the Riverlands. But that all blows up in his face spectacularly. And then his confidence is shaken. And then he has these Viserys guilt dreams. So I think they are having an impact on his state of mind. It's just that things are going so poorly for him in real life that whatever boost to his ego he may have received from that one dream got sort of smothered. You know, the fire got smothered pretty quickly on that. And he just doesn't seem to have his bearings. And he knows that he's dicking around here. He knows that he's hiding. I think, he knows that he's hiding. And that's why when Alice calls him out on it, he doesn't really deny anything that she says and ends up asking for her help, which she then makes clear that it's not help he's asking for, it's counsel, because that makes a fucking difference. But
I didn't understand that. What was that? Is it just like help is taking action where counsel is just giving advice? Is that the difference?
I think that's what he means. Like, I don't need you to do anything. I'm just asking for your advice. But turns out you did need her to do something, sir.
Yeah.
You didn't even know what you needed her to do. But, or how she would be able to do it. And she tells him a little bit about how things work there in the Riverlands, and that the Tullys, while not the most powerful or even the richest house, they offer a sense of stability that no other house is able to offer. And that is why they rule, and no one is going to raise their banners until Grover, who's the old man who's sick, gives them the okay. And he's like, so basically I can't do anything? And she's like, yeah, you don't do anything. And then for reasons, an owl shows up.
She says that something's going to happen in 3 days.
The wind is going to change. Yeah.
This is, I enjoy her as a character. I do not really like her helping Daemon.
What do you mean?
I don't like her, so this is a question because, I believe that this is never really confirmed or denied. She tells him in 3 days, then later on, we find out this man dies, and Simon is like, oh yeah, and Alice went over there and tried her best, but he died. And it's very much insinuated that she killed this guy. And it feels like she did that to help Daemon.
Right.
And I'm just don't like Daemon right now. And
I see what you mean.
You don't
have a moral objection to her helping him. He doesn't deserve the help.
That's exactly it. Yes.
Gotcha.
Because this is clearly a woman who's got some power. She's got things that she's working with, and he's a disaster. Why?
I mean,
is it just that he's hot? Is she just you know what?
I think
he is
that
awfully pretty.
She understands a bigger picture. If there's a bigger picture to be seen, we need to get things moving here. I'm joking, we need to get this Harrenhal plot moving, but also we need the Riverland plot to move forward as well. And they are stuck. There's nothing that's going to happen until a Tully says one way or the other. And if they are going to be pledged to Rhaenyra, which, Daemon took the castle and claimed it, then we got to get this shit moving.
Ma'am.
I really like to think of it as her being just oh my God, fucking fine. I'll do it. Jesus Christ. the energy I think that she's moving with.
I like it. I like it.
Like, I don't know if she's behind the dreams. I don't know what the fuck she gave him to drink. But I am here for her, even Alice being like, okay, I can't take this fucking guy here 1 second longer. We have to get him the fuck out. And the only way to do that is to get this shit moving. Because I'm sick of his shit.
That is really funny. I really like that interpretation of just being like, you know what? This man is really tiring me out.
Yeah, he's wearing me out.
I just kind of want to get rid of him.
He's wearing us all out. The boys are all shook now. They can't even like sit up and sit down and can't get up from a table without knocking into each other. The whole house is in disarray.
What is it with people knocking into each other? We got these guys. We've got the fucking King's Guard. Everybody just get a sense of spatial awareness, please. What is happening?
There has been a lot of bumbling. There has been a lot of bumbling this season. You are correct.
The bumble meter off the charts. All right. So we talked about already the attempts for the dragon. This poor man is sitting there fucking dying slowly, still on fire. The guy who is in charge of
he slit his throat right away.
He is ready.
He knew what to do. No hesitation whatsoever. Yeah.
That was really rough. I was kind of surprised because I had expected that fire to kill them more quickly. So I didn't think this would be necessary, you know, because we've seen other like suits of armor filled with ash with the guys still sitting up. So at times that fire can, it seems, cook you before you even know what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's apparently not what we're doing today. So that's fine. So next scene is the one with, it's not Adam. What is this other song?
It opens up on Adam sitting, but then in the background it's Alan talking to Corliss. Corliss comes to talk to Alan. And he's basically offering him a job. A good job too. Like, you know, I want you to be my first mate or my captain or whatever the fuck you do on a ship. And Alan is like, I really don't want to do this. Is this a request or a command? Because honestly, I just would rather not. And he's like, there's plenty of men that are more experienced than me. And Corliss is like, you know, I was younger than you when I had my first command. Corliss, you know that's not the problem.
Yeah.
You know that is not what's going on here. But you can't say the words, which is so fucking typical.
He is so on brand with that, though. Corliss, look, I have said it already, but I'm going to say it again. I don't have a lot of time for him. I wanted to like Corliss. I gave him a lot of chances. There have been multiple moments of me just being like, let's let this man have his say and see what. And I'm starting to just kind of be like, look, he's taking his wife's advice. I appreciate that he seemed to hear her, and also her death probably made him feel like to honor her, he should probably do what she asked. And that's great. But it really feels like maybe you shouldn't have to be told, one. And two, if you weren't going to do it until she died and you felt guilt, that shouldn't be what drives you. And that's not great either.
Well, Corliss had made an offer to Adam, before Rhaenys died.
Like a proper offer? Because I feel like he just like you did something good. Not
a proper like you can like be my son offer, but it was like a pretty good like job offer, you know.
I don't remember that. I thought that he was just basically like, you know, you saved my life, thanks.
Because then his brother gives him like why are you being so stubborn? He could raise you up, and you know you could accept his offer, and you saved his life. And Adam is just like, I don't want nothing from him. Fuck him.
I don't remember him saying like, why don't you accept his offer? I think that he was like, you saved his life. You could be pushier. You could make something of that, and you're not pursuing that at all. And this is like a perfect opportunity, you know?
Is that all it was? I thought he offered him a job, but
That's
yeah,
what
maybe
I thought.
you're right.
I may be misunderstanding. I don't know.
I can't remember exactly
chime in
now
and,
either.
like, remind us.
But yeah, so if this is his first time making this offer, it is, I don't know what I expect of Corliss. I don't know if I expect him to be like, you're my son, and I'm finally ready to call you that publicly. I don't know if that's what I want from him or if that's what I expect of him. But this weird dance that they're doing is so uncomfortable to watch. And poor Alan just doesn't want anything from him. At all. Like, I don't want any favors. I don't want anybody to know. I don't want anybody to think that I'm getting favors. I think that's really part of the deal, is Alan doesn't want anyone to think that he's been given anything because of who he is, right? He doesn't want people to think he's got special favors or anything like that. There's like a lot of pride here. On Alan's part. And what's on Corliss's part, I don't know what that is. That's just, I mean, like, I don't know what that is in real life when people do this with their kids. I definitely don't know what this is on his show. Like, I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't know what this is, but he basically tells him, yeah, I'm gonna need you to show up Monday morning at 9, be ready to clock in.
Yeah, he has to push him because Alan's like, all right, is this like an order? And he just says, I expect you. And it's just, as you command. And he really, I can't help but kind of admire how not obvious he's making it, because it's not that he's trying to hide it. He is just so overt in how much he doesn't want to do this. And I thought that by the time he realized that it was indeed a command, that he would kind of try and like stand up straight and put a decent face on it.
Nope.
But he just almost seems to be like hoping if I drag my feet enough, he'll take it back. You know?
And then when he finally has to accept it, he just hits him with a very generic, as my Lord commands. Like, there's no, like, thank you for this opportunity.
Nope.
You know, there's none of that. It's just like, okay, so as you say, you know, because you've said it, so I guess that's what I'm doing tomorrow. But none of that, like, you know, so grateful for this opportunity. You won't regret it. I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you bright and early. Like, there's none of that. And there's a quick cut to Adam, who's just like sort of watching in the background, and he makes such a stank face.
Oh, he really, it just, there's like that motherfucker kind of energy like rolling off him. And I couldn't tell if it was just like, I can't believe that he's squandering his opportunity, because I couldn't tell if you could hear the conversation or if it was just like the body language made it really clear.
Right.
Or if it was just like, I can't believe that man came down and showed his face again after ignoring, you know, like
it definitely looks like discuss with his brother.
I think you're right.
And they have a conversation a little bit later where they talk about it in detail about being his children, and Adam says a line, something like, you know, he's never had any use for us. Well, for me at least, you know, something very kind of like extra salty. But before that, right after the scene with Corliss, we go to the tavern, and there's some little agitprop happening.
Yeah. This is cracking me up because it seems so obvious to me what's happening, but I guess this is just the way that it goes.
It's just as easy.
Yeah.
You just get on Facebook and make a post.
You know,
you just start saying some shit. Oh, can't vote for her. She's a cop. And next thing you know, everybody's saying how you can't vote for her.
Man. Oh God. Okay. All right. So I'm sorry. I'm just gonna smooth sail right on past that. So yeah, this lady is just like they're up feasting, having these dances, prancing around and laughing, and we're here starving to death. Like the girl who had worked in the castle, Diana, she brings him this bowl, and he's just like, "Really? Is that it?"
It's a bit thin, isn't it?
She's just like, I would like to see you come up with the ingredients for something better. If you'd like, you could go to the kitchen and make it your fucking self. And yeah, this woman is just telling them all about how poorly they're being treated.
She starts talking about the food in detail, which is what you have to do. She starts listing shit.
It's a real George R. R. Martin moment.
Right? Rack of lamb, mince pie, you know, all the fucking wine you could drink. They were even dancing. And then she's like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been speaking so freely. They would never fucking let me live if they heard it, even though it's all true. And then
it really does feel like somebody should be like, is it? But everybody just goes with it.
Listen, don't we do the same though?
Like, I am not. Yeah, you know.
I mean, you know, we're out here 100% believing that we should absolutely eat the rich, and you know,
that's true.
I mean,
so I guess you've made a good point. Thank you for reminding me that we should eat the rich, because that changes everything. Actually, I'm fully on board. So then we go over to the scene where Rhaenyra is walking down the hall, and we have fucking what's his face following her, just being like, yeah, that guy died, so great job. He was like a decent soldier and very loyal, and I'm not the only one that feels this way.
And so I was talking about
flown off too, so it's not like we can even just try this again.
And he even brings up losing Meleys and Rhaenys at Rook's Rest and says, you know, I had a different plan. It wasn't as sensational as your plan. And then she just pops them in front of everybody.
That it wasn't as sensational really got me. Like the suggestion, oh, come off it. Ew. So yeah, she turns around and she slaps him, and he seems truly startled.
Yeah.
And she says, the way that she like looks over her shoulder for a moment, he should have known a little bit that he was in danger, because she really gave him like a, are you still there?
She really did. She really, really, really did. And he was just so oblivious and so really like excited to say all this shit to her. Like
yeah,
he couldn't,
felt that way.
Couldn't wait to fucking do it. And I told you so. His name is, it's so weird. My closed captions will sometimes tell me the name of the person, the character, and sometimes it won't. And I don't know why it makes that decision. But
I think that when they are not on camera, when the speaking begins, the closed caption will tell you, because it's unclear from the camera angle. But if they're actually on screen, then they don't tell you.
That's very interesting. I think you might be right.
That's my assumption from running into this with many other Spoil Me shows as well, and just being like, come on, what's his name? But yeah, she says, it is my fault, I think, that you have forgotten to fear me. You are correct.
Yeah.
It is your fault.
A little bit.
She did it in front of all the servants, everybody. Everybody's talking about it later. Her son comes and tells her. Servants are really excited about this. But yeah, I mean, I saw somebody post a meme, and it was that guy with that quizzical look, you know, the one? And it was like, advisor tells you not to do a thing, you do a thing and it doesn't work. Advisor tells you he knew it wouldn't work, and you slap him. And it's the quizzical face like, well, that's unreasonable. And I was just like, are you completely fucking incapable of seeing the context of this? The way he's dogging her heels, following her with I told you so's down the hall. Like she doesn't know that this was like a terrible loss and doesn't feel anything for it.
Like she's not your fucking queen.
Yeah, it's
Like,
just so presumptuous.
He would never to a king. No matter who the king was, he would never.
Definitely would fucking not.
But he's going to like stalk her down the hallway and demand that she stop and listen to him and his tirade about how he was right and she should have listened to him. And yeah, he would never.
No.
And she goes into her room or wherever she goes. And the first thing she does is pick up a sword.
Yeah.
Because that's how she's feeling right now.
I really love that later on Mysteria says that suits you.
Yeah, I did too.
Such a good moment.
And she puts it down right after that though. And I wanted her to pick it up and like hold it like heavier, like in her hand. But she puts it down when she says that. And I was just like, oh shit. Because I guess maybe if we are getting a slow turn, maybe there'll come a point when she picks up the sword for real. Like, and really does hold it, not necessarily like fight somebody with it because she's not trained. But, you know, maybe that moment will be later. Like she's not quite ready yet to be wielding a sword, even a metaphorical one.
Yeah. It's just so frustrating to feel like that's what we're saying here when it felt like the last season ended on her looking ready to just take people out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't really understand why we have had to backtrack like this. It feels really contrived to me. I think
really what they decided to do was make that a temporary lapse in judgment based on sorrow and grief. That she just momentarily lost herself. She was so consumed with grief over the loss of her child, right? And that the minute she was, I don't want to say past that grief because one, I don't know if you ever get past grief like that. And two, it hasn't even been that much time. But once she's out of the actual moment, she's back to being much more clear-headed and level-headed, and with all the shit that we talked about, how women are like, you know, the gentler sex and they're not so quick to war and all that shit.
Yeah.
So it's just like a momentary failing. It's like, you know, the moment where Allison loses herself to the point where she grabs a knife at dinner that night, right? And it's supposed to just be a momentary lapse. I would have liked to have seen that rage sustained because I feel like the loss of a child is strong enough to have that burning pit last.
Agreed.
You know?
Agreed.
But if the show is like the other thing the show is doing, whether or not we believe it's like who's nice or not, you know, who's fair, the show is really setting up that Rhaenyra would be the better ruler than Aegon or Aemon. And we see those two and you're just like, ew, I don't necessarily want either one of them on the throne. So if we're rooting for Rhaenyra, she's got to be or possess qualities that we think would make a good ruler. And one of those qualities would be temperance. So she has to have that and for us to believe she would make the better ruler. I think what would be, and this is probably maybe the way the books are written, even though if I remember correctly, they're written, I think, biased towards the Greens, kind of.
It's
people keep claiming anyway. I don't know how true that is.
I really did not feel that way when I read it. I've heard people say that, and I was shocked.
Really?
To hear it because I felt like the Greens came off pretty fucking badly. So I don't know. You know, Rhaenyra seemed terrible as well, but I didn't feel like the Greens were painted to be better at all.
Interesting.
So I don't know what people are talking about with that, to be honest. But
yeah, like I think that they were afraid that if both sides had rulers that we as viewers wouldn't want ruling us, then we would be like not invested.
Yeah.
You know, we want to see somebody that we think would treat us fairly. Like if we if the small folks are like proxy for us, the viewers, we want the one who seems like they're going to be fair, the one who's not going to be bloodthirsty. And so that's what they've kind of presented Rhaenyra as. Though, to your earlier point, we could be watching a very slow turn to that type of brutality in Rhaenyra. And maybe by the end of this whole thing, she will be just as, air quotes, terrible as Aemon and Aegon ever were. Or even more so, depending on just how far she's willing to go to try to secure her throne.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so this conversation with Mysaria is about this plot they have. I love that they're plotting.
Yeah, the plotting is very fun.
I do.
And this thing with the food delivery is not in the book.
Oh, no.
So
this is
I thought that this was fun.
This was a lot of fun. This was really very smart. You know, we send a messenger in to sort of foment dissent. People are, you know, get people thinking about the royals having these fancy parties and eating all this food. There's going to be a scene a little bit later on coming up with the sheep going through the town.
Yep. Yeah.
And then
that's the gift that they sent.
Mm-hmm. And then later on, I can't. Oh, it's so good. And then later on, when the food comes with the Targaryen banners, the black and red, and the city just goes absolutely just fucking ape shit.
Yeah.
It's very, very clever. And Mysaria is, because Rhaenyra is like, all right, so you're getting the town people. Y'all, please pray for me. Because I cannot get the small folk shit right, no matter how hard. The episode is called Small Folk. And this bitch is talking about the townspeople. Jesus, be a fucking better way to speak.
Well said.
It was the opposite of that, ma'am.
A better way to speak was not a good way to speak.
But Rhaenyra is like, all right, that's great. You're getting all the small folk all riled up, but what are they going to do? Storm the castle? They can't overthrow anybody. And Mysaria is like, well, yeah, they can't, but it's very difficult to wage a war abroad when your city is on fire. Like when you need to be worried about what's happening in your own walls, and he can't destroy his own city. So we're going to put him in a little bit of a bind. And I want to say the situation about the food insecurity in King's Landing came up in the small council meeting at the beginning of the episode with Aemon.
It did. And he's just basically like, why are they blaming us for it? Because it's not our blockade.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I mean, that's not what it's about. It's whoever's in power. That's always what happens. Yep. That's always what happens. Yep. Thanks, Obama. That's what you're getting.
Exactly. That's why we blame the president for gas prices. Like, no matter how many times and how many articles that he tries to explain to us how that works, we're still like, gas is too high. Fuck the president.
God, it's really so dumb. Like, whenever you stop, when you stop and think about things, it's not.
That's it. Don't stop and think about things.
We don't look good.
Don't stop and think about things. Never, ever. Just keep moving like a fucking shark. Just
Oh God.
So this is them plotting and what they're gonna do. We don't know exactly what their plan is here. But just that they have, something going on. And then it goes to the actual
the scene
small folk.
With Aemond and Larys. We see that there's no food left, and it's a real brief scene. And then Aemond and Larys and maybe Baratheon ? And it's when Larys is like, "You need a hand," And Aemond is trying to be like, you are going to take care of that. But Larys misunderstands and thinks that he is giving him the position.
My God.
And it's extremely like awkward.
Oh my
and he
God.
calls him a toad.
Yes, he does.
It's like, not you. You're going to bring Otto back. Write him a letter. And we find out later, like, Otto's not.
Hasn't been
He's
answering
leaving them
shit.
on red. But this scene with Larys and the way that he is responding to Aemond, he is a lot less certain of himself than he has ever been. This scene is the first time that I really feel. Have you ever seen the movie Chicago, the musical?
I have not.
There's
I feel
a
like
scene-
I have, but I have never actually seen it.
There's a scene where Richard Gere's character is in court and he's making these frankly absurd arguments about what happened. And it is intercut with wild tap dancing. And that he is allegedly doing. I don't know if he is or not, but it's just, meant to be him just attempting to pull whatever he can. And I really felt like that was what was happening here with Larys, is just like his brain is going overtime with like, how do I handle this guy? Because the ways I normally like manipulate people are not working, because he is a weirdo who doesn't care what others think the way that I am used to preying on.
Yep. He tells him,
So
Aemond says to him, to his face, first of all, he calls him the self-important Lord Larys. And then says, I have no use for flatterers and lickspittles, which is a word that keeps getting thrown around.
lickspittle.
And then when he says the thing about being the hand, there is a cutaway to the brown-haired guy where he does this thing with his head, and he's just like, oh, this is going to be bad.
It felt for me like he was kind of like smirking a little bit, because Larys is so... He is just always in the mix, and seeing him be kind of dismissed was satisfying. But
well, the thing is about Larys is, in my opinion, he is so transparent that I'm surprised that this shtick ever works on anyone ever. Like, he's just like, it's so obvious all the time with Larys. So I just imagine a guy being like, oh, here this motherfucker go. And then when Aemond responds the way he does, then there's like a real look of like satisfaction on this guy's face.
Gotcha. Okay, yes.
Larys, on the other hand, like you said, is does not know what to do with Aemond. And we see how he reacts, because he goes right to Aegon. So, I mean,
Aegon. This is when we have the what do you call it, Maester? I keep wanting to call him a Septon. Come in and tell them like, oh, he's conscious and he has spoken. And Aemond says, such happy news. And
Ironrod. Sorry.
Ironwood.
Is that the
It's
guy?
Ironwood, right? Not Rod.
It just flashed on my screen really fast, and of course now I can't fucking get it back. the guy whose name we've been trying to remember all episode.
I think that it's Ironwood. If I remember, it started with a Y.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Let's try to remember that.
Good luck. Yeah, I feel like we've done this like 4 times. So the next scene, you guys, the treatment of his wounds and the sound effects and the focus on like removing bandages or whatever is happening here, it's so incredibly viscerally disgusting.
Yeah.
And the actor playing Aegon does such convincing trying not to scream sounds. Like, all of this is just horrible to watch. I hated it so much.
Yeah. This was bad. This was really bad. And then Eamon he has brought the little ball from the council meeting with him, and then shoves it into his brother's wounds. And it's just like, what do you remember? Aegon is like, I don't remember anything. And he's like, you attacked Malus. It was foolish. You didn't do so well in that fight. And Aegon is just like, I don't remember anything. And he's groaning and making these pain noises. And Maester walks in while Aegon is leaning over him. Yeah. And it says something like, my brother's in for a long road. Be sure to keep him comfortable. Which is like, kind of like, is he suggesting you keep him, see that he is made to rest comfortably? Is that like, let's make sure we keep him doped up all the time? I expect you to keep him doped up all the time, because I feel like,
it occurred to me, but I could see that.
My assumption was they were going to keep that motherfucker doped up regardless. Do you see his body? Like, does that? I don't feel like that needed to be said, but
I feel like what I thought was happening was him being like, "Oh, I just came to check in on whether or not he was comfortable," like just trying to take the implications out of the scene that this guy just walked in on. The way that he was leaning over him and just kind of being like, oh, I was just, checking it. I kept thinking about that scene in Seinfeld where George is in the hospital and he tells Jerry to just kill him.
Right.
And
with the pillow
over his head. And then Elaine comes in and he says, Elaine, what are you doing here? Very like
he starts fluffing the pillow.
That was what I was thinking of in this scene.
No, there's definitely some of that. But I felt like there was something a little bit ominous underneath just the sort of standard. I was just checking on my brother to make sure he was okay.
I think that's just how Eamon comes across.
I mean, listen, everything that motherfucker does or says feels like ominous and like
there's a real undercurrent of sinister.
There really is. It's like the way his face is always like that. He just can't help it. Like,
I'm gonna go pour myself some cereal. Oh God, what did that mean? So I felt so bad for Aegon in this scene. He's so scared. You can see how he's so good. Yeah. This actor playing Aegon is so good.
Yeah.
And the way he's just like, I don't remember anything. Like he's just trying to keep whatever's about to happen from happening.
Of his brother. And like his brother looked him dead in his face and Dracarys'd him. Like, yeah, you should be afraid. You should be terrified. When Laris comes in to see him later and starts to try to talk about Aemon, and Aegon's whole like body language, what he can manage, is just like, no, I don't want to. No, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about him. Please leave.
All right, so we'll come back to that. We go to this scene in the Vale is so surprising. What did you think of this?
So along the lines of spoilers, right? Mm-hmm. So I had seen people talk about a character that was known in the books, but they only use her initial or their initial. I don't know if it was a she or he. It's an N. And people were saying they think the N storyline is getting swapped out with Rhaena. And that's all I know. I don't know who N was. I don't know what the N storyline is. But, so we have Rhaena at the Vale, and she's walking Joffrey. And talking about how, like, she's not...
walking.
Is that what you
call
not
it? Wrong, but it really felt
That's not how you
doggy.
say it, right? It does feel like... Yeah. You're right. She has taken little Joffrey out on a walk.
Yes.
They are walking together. Anything that suggests that it's 2 human beings and not 1 human and a dog. But she's talking about how, like, not everybody lives a great life. You know, not everybody is destined for big things. And it is still just very much her feeling like she doesn't count because she doesn't have a dragon. She's been sent on this nanny mission because her life is going to be small. She just doesn't get to be a part of the big things. And they stumble across a field that has clearly had some recent dragon activity.
Yeah.
We got scorched earth and mangled pieces of leftover snacks, sheep and what have you.
That was not the word I was expecting. Snacks is fine.
And she is sitting in the playroom with the children, and Lady Erin comes in with news that they have received a letter from Pentos, and the prince there. It says that, you know, he would love to have the sons and Rhaena as well there. He's going to take care of them. You get to leave. And Lady Erin is like, I thought you'd be happy, or at least a little less fucking pitiful and sad because you hate it here. And what it is she's like, you have a fucking dragon out here.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't say a word about it to anybody. And she takes it really personally. She says, you misled me, which is kind of ironic because the last episode, Lady Erin was like, I asked for a dragon and y'all sent me 2 baby dragons. And Rhaena was all like, well, we didn't say what size.
Yeah.
So it felt a little like, I don't know if you get to have a high horse, ma'am. But she is fixated on this idea that there is a dragon roaming free. And there was a conversation during Rhaenyra's small council about the beginning about like these dragon riders. And she comes up and Corlys is like, well, she's tried and has been unsuccessful. And I think one time maybe even was like very dangerous. Like she almost got hurt. So I'm thinking that maybe the show is going to let her have a dragon.
Maybe.
But does she have one in the books?
I don't want to tell you anything.
You don't want to tell me? Okay.
There's too much wiggle room for them to do things that could. You've got enough spoilers already. You don't need any more.
All right,
that's what I come down on.
But I don't know what this dragon is. Like if it even has a name. I'm sure it has a name. But it's not one of the ones that I know about, right? Like I know about the 3 that Rhaenyra talks about. I know about the ones that are in King's Landing. So this wild dragon is just out here doing dragon shit for who knows how long. I have no idea like who it belonged to. Like why is it riderless? Why is it roaming free? And it'd be interesting if she got a dragon though, because then she would matter. And it would true. It would be confirmation of her fears, right? Because she would suddenly be very, very fucking important. And all these people are trying to tell her that it's fine that you don't have a dragon. It's not a big deal. Like they're just gaslighting her. It's like when you like if you're heavy and then you lose weight and you see how people treat you, and you're like, oh,
it is completely different world out there if you look a certain way. Great. Everybody always told me that I was just beautiful the way I was.
Yep. Or the inverse, like, you know, for me, which is just being very skinny for a long time and then gaining weight and suddenly people being like, oh, you look different now.
Yep. There's nothing like you look different. That's never good. Nobody ever says different and means good.
Nope.
Nope.
Except that one guy, he came up in my Facebook memories not that long ago. This one guy outside of my job one day, hadn't seen me in a while because I had left jobs and then I came back and I had gained a bunch of weight. And he was like, basically said, "Oh, you gained a bunch of weight. You look good now." Which also not great. Just
guys,
like how about we not comment? Like, how about we just not comment at all on my body? Strange, sir, that I only know because you're like the custodian in the building that I work in. Like,
strange, sir. I love it.
He called me more approachable. He said I look more approachable now. Swear to God.
Feels like, is that good? Approachable sounds to me like you're not as intimidating because you don't look as good as you used to.
That's how I took it.
God knows. Who knows what goes through these men's minds?
He was fucking, yeah, said that shit with a straight face. Right to my face, y'all. To my face. I was outside minding my business. Oh, God damn.
Is he the guy who always used to steal cigarettes from you? Also?
No. He was,
okay.
But he was he worked in the building. He was one of the janitorial guys. He was always outside sweeping up cigarette butts and like cleaning up the lobby and shit.
Okay.
Like one of those guys. Yeah.
I knew he was cigarette related.
Yeah, because I was out there. I was out smoking. I was like, I was just trying to have a cigarette, minding my fucking business. I'll never forget that. I looked more approachable. I had Tina Turner legs. Yeah, just full of shit. Just say anything. But anyway.
All right. So this is when we go to Alan and Adam. And Alan, who had this weird scarf draped over his head when he was talking to his dad, is now shaving his head.
Yeah, now we know why he was wearing his bonnet.
White fuzz. He's got that Valerian hair.
Yep. And he does not want it. Does not need it. Is not a fan of it.
Meanwhile, the rest of the world is just like, what are you doing, dude? That looks dope as hell. You could be like basically royalty. What is the matter with you? I mean, I can respect that you don't want like favors, but also I don't understand it. I have a lot of respect, but I can't relate. That's just me.
Let me find out.
This is what I'm saying, you know, like, and the conversation is kind of, again, why aren't you making more use of what you could? And he just basically kind of gets fed up and is just like, you know, all you do is hang around thinking about what if he actually acknowledged me, and you have got to get over it. That's not going to happen. And you're like putting all this pressure on me. You have to move on with your life.
Yeah, there's a lot of baggage here. Adam has felt ignored. And I'm wondering, because we haven't seen, like, Adam clearly works, like, around the ships and shit, but I don't think he actually sails. Like, he hasn't been out, right? So I don't know if we know what the deal with that is, if he's just not seaworthy. Like, maybe he can't. Oh, my God.
He's got holes in him. He'll sing prayers like that.
But like we see him out like catching crabs and shit. We see him working with ropes. So I don't know if he doesn't have Corliss's attention because he's not a great sailor, there's some sort of obstacle or some sort of challenge there. I don't know like what it is. Maybe he wasn't good enough to get in on a ship or however that works. But he's definitely feeling away because he hasn't garnered his father's attention in the way that Alan has. Alan is got all the respect of his crewmen. Corliss has said earlier, you know, he's distinguished himself at the Stepstones. He's like a warrior. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's because Alan's not a fighter in that way. Maybe that's why he's not like out on part of the fleet. And so he's this. I'm assuming Adam is also the younger brother too, and he's got a lot of that. Like, I need to prove myself energy, similar to Eamon, not as as malevolent,
Angry.
not as angry, right? But that same sort of like desire to prove himself that he's worthy.
And they both like it's very clear that Corliss knows who Alan is. Do you think he knows who Adam is? Like, because Adam was never brought up by Rhaenys, and she came down there. It felt like knowing what she was going to find.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what to think about that.
Well, there's they say that he ignores us earlier, and then Adam says ignores the way he ignores me, especially. I'm wondering if Corliss is aware that there are two sons, but like you're saying, like he literally doesn't know like which dude is Alan, or are you wondering like if he knows that he has a second son at all?
I guess more like does he know that he specifically is his second son? Like I would think that he would know if like the woman he was sleeping with had been pregnant, but maybe isn't aware exactly who the other kid is. But maybe I'm just trying to give him like the benefit of the doubt that he isn't so shitty that he would ignore him like this. I keep trying with Corliss. I keep doing this. I gotta stop. He isn't worth it. He isn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that it's very possible that Corliss knows he has a second son out there, but because he hasn't distinguished himself in any way, Corliss just simply couldn't be bothered. You know? I mean, I don't know. Like, Adam is like talking about their servants and the riches and like the good life. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think that Corliss maybe did something to help, like, take care of them as children. I have absolutely nothing to base that on, right?
Yeah.
But I'd like to think that Corliss put a couple dragons in somebody's pocket. The dragons, now it sounds weird because there's real dragons. I'm talking about the coins.
Yes.
You know, put a couple pennies in her pocket to help take care of them. But I don't know, you know, that to be true. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Corliss knows that Adam is his son, and when he sees him on Sea Smoke, I mean, then you'll get fucking noticed.
True enough.
Yeah, I guess we're going to have we're going to have a couple of kids who have been sort of ignored by their parents suddenly matter when they're on Dragonback.
So then we go to Rhaenyra and Jace, and basically he's like, "Hello."
I'm so sorry. It just occurred to me. I think it's important that Adam uses the word ignores, because ignores suggests you know who the fuck I am.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's kind of what I was like. I don't want to think that he is, but
yeah,
it makes it sound like he knows.
Yeah, I think he definitely does, and chooses to just not pay him any mind because he's not worth anything.
Gross.
Yeah, it is gross.
See,
okay. I'm sorry, but I interrupted you with that like last minute thought.
No, it's fine. The scene with her and Jace, he's like, I think he's trying to just have a moment with her of like, let's get real here, but he unfortunately has to be like, well, we need Daemon. And
this is like the third time this episode somebody has thrown Daemon in her face, and she is over it.
She really is. It's just very like, yeah, we fucking know. Another man who has a dragon who is very dangerous and respected. We are all aware things would be so much better if Daemon were here. Can we fucking
But
stop?
He's not here. Like, and you all should be as frustrated and angry with him in his absence as I am. Like, instead of you all acting like I'm refusing to ask for Daemon's help, and they're treating her like somehow she's in the way of Daemon helping them.
Yeah.
Like she is unaware of what help Daemon would be. Daemon is not answering any of the fucking ravens.
Damon's out here doing his thing, and her reaching out. What is she supposed to do? Tell him, never mind. I'm just kidding. I don't really want it. You can have it. Is that what they're kind of like wanting her to do? Because I thought allegedly y'all were fighting for her.
Allegedly.
Crown. And it's really kind of sounding at this point like y'all are just sort of going, well, you know, I would just like for our side to win. And whether it's you with the crown, whatever, you know. Anyway, this is when Mysteria comes up and says our gift is sent, and Jace seems to really feel a way about the fact that he was not let in on this plan. He walks off in a bit of a huff.
Yes, he does.
But yeah, we know that was the sheep, or no, not the sheep.
No, the boats.
The boats. And the next scene is somebody discovering the boats, and it's really, really well done. I really enjoyed this because he sees the one boat, pulls the burlap back and sees all the food, and then the camera pulls back and he can see in the like fog all of these other boats just floating and waiting to be found. I really, really liked that scene.
Yeah, it's very good. This poor guy. I laugh too because we know that like all there is to eat is fish, and then you see like these guys
just scraping. Yeah. So then we go to Allison. She is still by her son's bedside. I posted a meme. I don't know if you saw it. I can't remember if it went up yet. It's scheduled. And the scene last episode where he said mummy and she had walked away. Somebody said it's a good thing Allison wasn't there to hear him say mummy, or she would have thought that he was saying she should be the queen.
Oh, I hadn't seen it. Oh my God.
So she talks to the maester here, and he is basically like, I think he's actually going to make it. And she's sort of, yeah, but what's he going to be like, though? And he doesn't answer her. It's very clear it won't be great. Yeah. And then she's like, have you heard from my father? And he's like, I sure haven't.
This man is not going to get caught up in any of this, but any of this white foolishness.
This man is so like on the spot all the time. I don't know how they keep doing this, but every episode there's a moment of him just being like, I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Like nope. Not going to get it from me.
Yeah.
Every episode. I imagine sometimes he wonders to himself, I should be at Driftmark. What am I doing here? Like, how does Citadel going to send me here? You know good and well.
I should have been a septon, like Mom said. Why'd I have to be a maid? Sucks.
Oh, shit.
So she continues to sit by him, and she says, I'm sorry to him a couple times. And I was wondering what you thought she was apologizing for, because it feels for me like she's kind of apologizing on behalf of Aemond. Or is it she's apologizing for putting him front and center to be the king because it's put him in this danger now and she was wrong? Like,
I think it's a combination. I think that she's apologizing for an overall failure as a mother, meaning I'm sorry I didn't raise you to be a better person than what you turned out to be. I think you're right about there's a part of her that regrets pushing him.
She regrets it.
She regrets.
She regrets pushing him away.
But she regrets thrusting him onto the throne when she's known in her heart, though she failed to acknowledge it or was unwilling to admit it, she has always known that he was not built for this. She's known it. And that she let her own, what do I want to call it? Let me take a moment and pause that. This this dedication to duty, I think Allison's dedication overrode her duty to her children. Right? She knew her son was not fit to be king, was not made to be king, wasn't raised to be king, wasn't prepared for it. And on the strength of her misunderstanding of Viserys, she ignored all of that she knew about her son.
Yeah.
And put him in that position. I think she's also apologizing for the way Aemon turned out. And that she's taking, whether she deserves it or not, she's taking responsibility for what he's turned into. And I think this might be a bit of a reach, but because Aemon didn't get the satisfaction of having somebody held responsible, punished, lose an eye for when he lost his eye, that stoked in him this desire to get it back himself. He's going to punish everybody now. He's going to get his lick back because proper action wasn't taken when he was a child by his mother or his father, really. I just feel like she's apologizing for failing her children in a huge way.
That makes sense in light of the conversation that she has after this, because it's like, dawn, and she's sitting by his bedside, and she gets up and goes out and talks to her brother, and it's really an interesting conversation because her brother, who I've actually grown to like a little bit more, he really kind of dismisses her coming up to him because it seems like he assumes she's out here to talk to Kristen, and almost is sarcastic in his responses and glances over at Kristen more than once as if to be like, I know you don't really want to be talking to me. It's fine. Go talk to him.
Yeah. Because he's watching her.
And
she looks at Kristen first, but then calls her brother's name, and he's staring at her and Kristen. And when she calls his name, he looks like surprised.
And it turns out he has a little bit of a Aemond feeling toward her because she was the favorite, even though he was firstborn and heir. There was just never really the sense that his father cared for him the way he did for her. And it's like he's really trying not to be bitter about it. It seems like he's attempting to be more aware of that than Aemond has tried. But, there's still clearly a little bit of bitterness. And I love when she's talking about how hard it must have been for him without even a mother there. And his response is just, you get on with it, don't you? Which I just love that way of phrasing it, because that's just sort of it. There isn't any choice. You just get on with it.
I noticed that when they're talking, she's like, have you heard from father? And he is like, well, I haven't heard anything, but I haven't sent anything either. And if he wrote letters, it would be to you, blah, blah, blah. You're his favorite. And then she says, it's weird. There's been no word. And he doesn't say father. He says Otto Hightower is ever resourceful.
Yeah.
He'll send word when he has something to send word about. And I was just like, he didn't say dad or father or our father. It's just it just suggests a strained, relationship there. And she says, maybe it should have been you that came to court. And he was like, no, I'm the eldest son. It was only right that I was raised in Old Town. That was my place. And she keeps going well, it must have been difficult. And he's just like, all right, exasperated.
Yeah, it's like he keeps trying to end this conversation because he just doesn't want to have this, and it's like a weird moment. I really like that because this is often how this sort of thing happens. You finally have a heart to heart with somebody, but it's in like a gas station, and it's like, this isn't where I would choose to have this talk, but it just fucking happened. Because he's like literally got one foot in the car about to leave. Yeah. She keeps being like, well, wait.
And then she asked about the son. Is it Darion? And this softens Gwen up a little bit. He's like, oh, okay. And he kind of like actually walks towards his sister. She starts to tell her what kind of kid this little boy is, or young man is. And he says at the end that he's kind.
And you can see the relief all over her from that.
All over her face.
Like I don't know if she even knew she was waiting for that, but he's giving her all kinds of descriptors about how like he's great with an instrument. He's a bit of a lady killer. He's really smart and all of that. It's sort of like, yeah. And then when he says he's kind, it's like her whole body seems to relax because that's really the thing. And she's figuring that out, but it's like too late.
Yeah. And she even says that's a quality that's lacking in his brothers.
Yeah.
And dude is just like, well, you did a good job sending him to Old Town because the Red Keep, man, this shit is not for children.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because, like, I know that Aegon is a shit. I know this. The way he has treated his brother sucks. He's raped servant girls. He sucks. But also, I just keep remembering him saying he came all this way. And I'm like, that's a little kind. I don't know. It's just sort of nice. It feels considerate. I can't help but appreciate it.
He was the most considerate rapist you ever did see. He was really concerned about travel.
I'm just saying, change, and those tweets were written a long time ago, and he's probably grown since then. Can't people just improve sometimes? The left just eats itself. That's all I'm saying. All right. So, yeah. And the overall sense is that you get this kid is actually dope. And the way the conversation ends is like, was it the Red Keep or was it me? Like their mother fucking up. And she says it with a laugh, the way that you laugh when you finally get to the heart of the matter and you're saying it. You don't want to be saying it, but here it is.
Yep.
And he just says, you did your best. Which, it feels a little damning to me.
I mean, it's the kind of thing they tell us, in therapy. You say that shit when you're just trying to be like, at least you tried.
That's exactly. I was about to say it's giving that Simpsons cake. Yes, very, very much. So it seems like she kind of does take comfort from that, but I can't tell how much of that is her just letting him think she's comforted because it's clear this conversation has got to end.
Right.
Or if she really does, because he says, I'm sure you did your best.
I think
I don't know, her face. I don't know if she kind of looks, I feel like she's taking that as an indictment.
The best I could do with that was, I guess I disagree. I feel like it's not that she doesn't take it as an indictment. She takes it as like a kindness her brother is doing her that she doesn't deserve, and she knows it.
Interesting.
Like he's doing his best in this moment to not like say you are a terrible piece of shit mother, and that's why your boys are monsters. Like, that's just like like his way of trying to do her a kindness by saying that, and that she knows it, because I think she's wondering to herself, Did I do my best?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I did. I don't think
Yeah.
I did my best. And this is
You
where
see that
we've
meme
gotten.
Owen posted today?
I don't think so.
It's a little comic, and there's two people talking, and one of them is like, well, that didn't work. And the other guy says, you did your best. And he says, no, I didn't. And he says, well, there's always tomorrow. And he says, nah, I'm good.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I knew that would speak to you.
It really,
you and Owen have really similar outlooks on a lot.
It really does. It really, really fucking does. Jesus Christ. Yeah. No, thank you.
I am very much the like, I'm going to do better tomorrow. I'm going to try more tomorrow. And Owen is very much the like, well, you know, if my kind of trying wasn't enough trying, I feel like I really have tried quite enough.
This is all the trying I have.
Mm-hmm.
I tried all my
Clean
tries
out.
already.
Oh, God.
Jesus Christ. That's so
I'm
good,
sorry.
though.
So her and Kristen exchange a look.
A
It's very funny
long
because, like, I never saw them as a real couple at all. So every time that they kind of have a moment, I'm just sort of like, really? Oh, I just thought you were fucking. All right. Well, you know?
Yeah, they exchange a very long, lingering look.
Yeah.
That is filled with what exactly? Sort of like, this may be the last time we see each other. Is this how we're going to leave it? I guess it is how we're going to leave it. You're not coming over to me. I'm not coming over to you. I guess this is it. Our thing that we were doing. I guess this is how it just ends, like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it does. All right, then. And then he just turns his horse around and leaves.
I feel like he was expecting her to reach out.
Mm-hmm. He kept looking at her, like waiting to see if she was going to, because she does the last time they go out to war, and well, the last conversation they had in private when she slapped him. Did she slap him? No, she doesn't slap him. She says, "I didn't give you leave to call me by my name," because he calls her Allison.
Right.
And she's like, "I didn't give you permission to use my first name." And then he turns to go, and then we go to Helena and her crickets. So I wanted to ask about this.
Yeah.
She's got, what is that? 3 little cages of crickets.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, one has stopped singing.
Yeah.
And we all know that, we have to pay close attention when Helena speaks, because she's always telling us something about something. So, thoughts.
Thoughts you.
I can't thoughts you. It's not a two-way street.
This is a real no you reverse Uno situation.
So,
but no, I feel like you need to share.
At first, I thought that it was like, it seems like it has to be like the literal singing that we had, right? Trying to raise sea smoke, and then they're singing, and then they're not singing because sea smoke has been like, I don't like this guy. Then I was like, well, that's like really on the nose, and that's not really a prediction if it's already happened. Right?
True.
And her things are usually things that haven't happened yet. So I don't know. I know I asked earlier, and I think you said I think you said it's how it works, where the riderless dragons, you raise them by singing. But if you have a rider, then you don't have to sing to get them out of the dragon pit. You just call them and they come.
I don't remember. I don't think that was me.
No. So when I asked earlier about it's singing to get the dragons out of the pit, that's only if they don't have riders. That whole thing we were
song
watching,
and dance, literally.
Yeah, literally the whole song and dance. So I was like, well, maybe that means that Sea Smoke gets a rider, and she's saying, so this one's not singing anymore, or maybe I don't know. Maybe it's the 3 dragons that are wild, but see, they don't sing. So I mean, I know her things aren't like literal all the time, so the singing might not even be like singing. I don't know. If they're the 3 dragons, somehow she's saying one of them is behaving differently now. Something is different with one of the dragons. But I don't...
Dragons.
I mean... What else do we have 3 of? She's got 3 brothers, right? She's got Aegon, Aemon, and Darion. One stopped singing, but Aegon's already been hurt. That's like in the past. Unless she means like singing like a canary. Like he's not going to tell everybody what the fuck Aemon did.
Oh my God. I don't know why, but that is really funny.
Right? I like the kid.
Absolutely not.
So.
This one's not narking. Okay.
I don't know. I know that there's the 3 dragons that Rhaenyra is trying to get riders for. So that's 3 and 3. It could be her 3 brothers talking about how Aegon's not talking anymore. What else? It's probably something like Clear as Day that I'm just like not fucking clocking. I don't know.
Well, we're going to leave it behind.
Yeah, that's all I got.
So yeah, she's come to pick her up to take her to the Sept. And this is when we see, oh my God. I was going to say the man's name, but then I was like, we see the dog again, because that's really the thing that we're all here for. Am I right? Now, what's his name of Hull?
This guy,
Alan? No.
Wait, you're talking about, that's Hugh.
Oh, Hugh. That's who I'm thinking. So what's this guy's name? You're better with their names than I am.
So if we're depending on which scene you're looking at with the dog, that's Hugh with the dog.
Hugh.
In King's Landing?
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's looking around for food. Everything is out. And he goes and scratches that dog. And I had a real terrible moment of like, is he going to eat that dog?
Oh, no.
Because in like Song of Ice and Fire, that dog, with people not being able to find any meat,
it's true.
That dog is history. That's it for that dog.
Mm-hmm.
But he just pets him, and it seems quite harmless. And we're just letting everybody know that the dog is still here and okay. So that's fine. And this is when people begin to run, and they've got baskets and bags full of food. And this man just straight up punches another man down and takes the food and runs.
Yeah, like you think he's just making his way to the shore where all the food is going to be, because he seems like the kind of guy that wouldn't just mug somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out, in these desperate times, desperate measures. And he does. He just fucking clocks that guy, drops him like a sack of dirt, and snatches his food.
And he's like a lot bigger than I realized as well. Like seeing him amidst all of these people, I just didn't quite see how giant he is. But he's quite a big dude.
Yeah, he is. Like he would have had to hit me. He could have just asked me for my bag. And like, here you go.
I don't want any of this smoke.
Right? I really don't want no trouble. But there's like a full-on riot happening in the streets because of this food. And then just sort of the anger is boiling over. and they rush in to grab Allison and Helena from the scepter, and they're lighting their candles. They got their little veils on, and they step outside, and it is just pandemonium.
Yeah.
And they do not have enough guards for the situation that they are in.
It would really feel like they have too many guards most of the time. But at this point, they're being hustled through, and there's somebody chucks a fish at her, and it smushes in her.
Oh, it's so gross. It goes all in her mouth. It just catches her right in the fucking face. They call her the fish queen.
I am sure that was made out of some delicious, like, pudding or some,
oh yeah,
it looks so nasty that it's like, oh god, it's making me nauseous just seeing this. Wipe your face. It takes so long for her to wipe her face. So there comes like a couple different points. Allison like falls. Helena gets left behind because she gets like distracted by somebody. A guy grabs her, and one of her guards just takes his arm off. That's
crazy.
She knows, like, you don't want to be escalating shit right now, dude. What are you doing? But it's too late. And as soon as that happens, it is like
they are literally running for their lives. They get surrounded. Allison is putting her body, trying to anyway, between the mob and Helena. It takes like a few beats for the Kingsguard to get up close enough to get them out of this like situation. They are like surrounded. One of the Kingsguard goes down, and the mob just is on him like fucking white on rice. Finally, they get them.
When they're like pinned against the wall, that there are some small folk that are trying to help them. Like, not all of them are trying to go for them. Like fighting amongst each other. So
yeah, that's
some of
true.
them are really like, nah, we are not doing this, guys. But yeah.
They finally get into their little carriage, and Allison is, I don't know, she's looking at her arm, and I couldn't tell if it's just the blood of somebody else's on her. I think she's actually hurt. Like, she's got a gash on her arm. So
I thought it was his blood also, but let's see. Because it was like a sword, which I'm sure, how precise are you going to be when it's in the heat of the moment and this guy's like yanking her back and forth? I could see that he might catch her. Poor Helena. Like, how many times is this going to happen? She's never going
to leave the fucking keep.
Yeah.
Right? Bless her heart.
I think you're right. She is sliced because the fabric is actually cut and you see her skin. So yeah. Things have gotten quite serious. And we cut from there to a woman who is about to give some milk of the poppy to Aegon.
And Aegon is reaching for it. Like, he's awake enough. He's awake enough that he can reach for it. And he is like pawing at her. And Larys is like, no, he can wait an hour. Sir, if you don't get the fuck out my room and bring me my drugs back, bitch, what?
He takes custody of it and is basically like, you're going to hear what I have to say if you want this.
My God. This who-face motherfucker.
I loved this scene.
Did you really?
Oh my God. It was so... This actor, I don't like Larys as a person, but man, this actor really kills it sometimes. There are some times where it's less than good. We have the first season with him talking about how children are a weakness as one of like the worst monologues. I hated it. But here, it feels like he is realizing Aemond is a problem in a way that's like more than just about him. And he clearly knows what happened. It seems like it's an open secret that Aegon is the one responsible for this. I can't tell how he knows, if it's just, well, if you've met Aemond, you would know, but he sits down and he has a real moment with him. And he's like, look, you'll never be whole. You have to know that the Maester has done everything he can, but there's no way that you are going to be what you were. You're not going to run again. Your mind is all that remains to you. I do not say that gladly. And
poor Aegon, because his mind was never his strongest fucking attribute.
true enough. And this actor, as he's saying all of this, the look on his face is somebody who is trying to help a person that they know is about to go through what they went through, and they are hoping they can keep it from being as bad as it was for them as it was for him. The whole energy of this conversation is so emotional and restrained. And it's like, I really initially was sort of like, he doesn't care about Aegon. All he's doing is trying to like get himself into a better position. But I really feel like what Aegon has gone through has made him warm to him in a personal way, just a little bit. And he says that I was, born in Harrenhal and I was fucked up. And my dad thought that somebody had put a spell on me, that there was like sorcery involved. Accusing a member of our household. And he doesn't say who. But there's somebody around Harrenhal that might, maybe, should be. And he says, people will pity you, either behind your back or in your presence. And Aegon is starting to cry here.
Yeah.
And he's not making eye contact, neither of them. He says, and they will stare at you. And he says it, and again, just the expression, and just like a single tear falls. You guys, I couldn't. This was so like, I got so choked up watching this scene. This really got to me. And then he finally looks up and says, and they will underestimate you. And this will be your advantage. And Aegon says, no. Like, I couldn't tell what he was saying no to. If it was just, I don't want to do this, or it won't be my advantage, or what, but yeah. And then he's like, I know that you know that since Aemond is in power, you're in trouble. You're perfectly aware of that. And Aegon just says, help me. And it's so sad. These two guys, this was so good. And then after he says, help me, that's when Larys gets the look on his face where I was like, oh, you, because he's so open and vulnerable and emotional. And then right there, it's like, I got him. I got him. And
that's
fuck.
What's so the thing, like the fact that this scene comes after Larys is so, resoundingly denied by Aemon, makes it difficult for me to buy any sincerity in this moment. But what Larys does do, which is so remarkable, is that he's let me see how I'm going to say this. He is drawing from a real place in himself in order to make this connection with Aegon. So it's real in that sense, right?
Yeah. Like
the sort of plotting and everything is actually still all happening. That all still exists. Larys is still who he is. But the way he chooses to connect with Aegon in this moment is by drawing on a real thing that he went through, that he experiences, and it's authentic. And that's what makes the whole scene so moving. And you're right. The minute that it feels like he's got Aegon, his more familiar, smug sort of I got him face returns.
Yeah.
It was a really phenomenal moment. It was really well done.
The acting this season, you guys, is really
it has been spectacular, right? It really has been. They've all been so good. So then we go to another Daemon dream. I thought we were all done, but we're not.
No, not yet. This is the crying scene.
Yeah. This is Damon comforting and being there for his brother in his worst moments the way he should have been.
Yeah.
As opposed to what he actually did, which was go out into the brothels of the city and have a fake celebration that he wasn't even really enjoying. Yeah. What could have been, what you should have done.
And when he hugs him and is like, "You needed me and I'm here now," it's almost like it breaks a spell or something. It's like he wakes up from this and it's a real wake up. Usually it's been sort of, he's up and moving around doing stuff.
Yeah, he's at a table with people.
Like, yeah, but this is the first time that we've ever seen him like wake as if he was asleep during this, which felt like a good sign to me. I don't know.
Yeah, the only other time was when Sir Simon woke him up from the mom dream.
True. Yeah.
And he wakes up to sorrowful news from River Run.
I love how Simon's saying sorrowful news with a big grin on his fucking face.
Lord Grover is dead. Simon's like, the old man. I'm sorry. Damon's like, the old man. And he's like, yep. So now young Oscar Tully is paramount of the Riverlands. And Damon is like, and what was the matter of passing? And what does Sir Simon say?
Simon says, well, he'd been ill, of course. River Run's maesters had been at their wits' end. Our own healer, Alice Rivers, volunteered her renowned skills. And Eamon turns and like looks at with this expression. I want this memed immediately. The face that he is making at this news is so funny to me. He is just genuinely like, oh, really? Like, yeah. But there was not more to be done. And he sort of like smirks as he walks away. Like, Simon, what? I enjoy that guy. I really do.
And then Damon bursts into tears.
And he's like looking up and then down again. Like he's like about to like thank gods, whatever. But can't quite bring himself to do it. Like, you know, it's a weird moment. What did you feel about that?
It was like a heavy cry of relief that things have finally turned his way. But also, like, I think there's some sort of that it wasn't at Damon's hands. Like, Damon didn't accomplish any of this, you know?
Yeah.
And there's like, I don't know, it comes so closely on the sort of dreaming he was having about Viserys that he's already like very emotional. So I think
that's true.
I think a lot of it is all mixed in together.
Yeah.
And I think there might be, the relief is not just that it's done and that Tully is dead, but also just kind of relief of like something is finally, he might finally be able to do something good. Like he might get a chance. Like if I wanted to really like be a Damon apologist, I would say he is genuinely remorseful for what happened with Viserys and what he did. And that last dream of his where he finally apologizes and lets that out, that he really does regret his actions, whether it's the joking about the heir for a day or just not being there for his brother in a way that he needed. If it's even larger than that, where he feels like his entire life he just did a disservice to his brother that his brother didn't deserve. I'm not sure how much Damon is sorry for when he's saying I'm sorry, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how big that it's like the I forgive you from Helena to Alicent. Like, how big is that forgiveness? Just what all is she actually forgiving in this moment? And it's sort of the same with Damon here. But I think it is like a residual emotion from the dream about Viserys, the relief that things can move forward with the Tullys, a sort of, I don't know if the word is sadness or and not embarrassment, but I think there's a feeling there that it wasn't by his hand, that he didn't make this happen. Somebody else had to go in and make it happen. And sort of humbling, maybe is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. Okay.
But then it goes to Adam of Hall.
And chased.
This dragon said, I know you posted a meme with the fucking Peter Griffin color scale.
Yep. I saw a lot of those jokes going around.
There's a lot of them. There's one that just says, it's from an interview with a vampire with Grey Worm, the new joint that's on AMC. It's really good. I haven't watched the second season yet because I have been like not able to really watch anything. House of Dragon is the first new show I watched in like 6 months. But there's a scene where he hangs up a sign and it says "Coloreds Only."
Oh my God, I saw that.
And so people were using that.
Yes. Oh my God.
So yeah, this dragon is who Rhaenyra. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you about. I knew it when we started recording, and then I forgot, and then it came back just in time. So, Rhaenyra had mentioned about Sea Smoke being restless, like an episode ago, where it was just like flying around, making a lot of noise. And something else I saw, and I don't know if this is true. This is not spoiler for the show. This is just people discussing dragon lore, with the whole idea of like these people who are going to be riding dragons now that aren't Targaryens. And I saw someone say that it's canon, and I don't know how canon dragon lore can be. I don't know what they mean by that. I guess they mean it was in a book that dragons can only bond to one person while they're living.
Yes, that's what I understand with George R. R. Martin's canon.
Is that the deal? So if Sea Smoke is able to have a new rider, that means Lenore? Yeah.
Lenore?
I don't like Lenore. I think it's...
it's not Lenore. I think it's Lenore. Yeah, I just always have to say it.
He has to be dead in order for Sea Smoke to have a new rider. So he has now died off screen somewhere. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it even matters at this point. Like, he could have died on one of his adventures. You know, he was out there.
That's true.
You know, just being like, you know, living it up, fighting and fucking and having a life that was his. And that is why Sea Smoke was so restless, because somehow it understood its rider was dead and was feeling the loss of that bond was severed. I don't know.
Well,
I didn't know that they could only.
Series.
I didn't know that they could only have one rider, at a time, like only one living person. I don't think I remembered that or knew it at all. If it's something that's mentioned,
I thought we had talked about it, but maybe not.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, you know, I'd be forgetting shit. So. But anyway, so I guess that means that that character is definitely not going to make a return, which I had kind of been hoping that he would, only because I wanted Corlys and mostly Rhaenys to know that he was still alive. But now that she's dead too, and the way Corlys is acting with his sons, I don't think he deserved to know Laenor was still alive.
Yeah, I'm not too happy with him. I feel like I want to say that he means well, and I don't even know if that's true. I keep trying to give him. Okay, let's go to the next scene.
He's trying his best.
No,
he's not even trying his best.
I don't think so.
Oh, Jesus
so Christ. The next scene is Rhaenyra and Mysaria, and they're having this is the last scene of the show, and they're having a bit of a heart to heart. Rhaenyra is sharing like what it was that drew her to Daemon and why she thinks he was drawn to her. And she says that we were two halves of a whole, but he has never been at peace. And he wanted to possess me, but not to be possessed, and to see me take hold of what he believes has been his.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't know what he's going to do. And she's just sort of reflecting here. Myseria's just listening. She finally says, I think he may have turned against me. And Mysteria is like, well, maybe not. It may just be that he disappeared the way that he always does. And she says, well, it doesn't really matter. He's not here. The dragon's not here. So I've got to do what I've got to do without him. And I don't know how we're going to deal with fucking Vagar. I don't have an army. And Mysteria reminds her about her fleet, but she's like, that's not enough. Like, and she says, how can I rule a kingdom when my own son doubts me? Which I don't feel is fair. I don't feel like Jace was doubting her. I think saying we need Daemon is just facts. I don't think that's the same as doubting her.
I think because so many people keep throwing that in her face, it's starting to feel like a accusation to her.
Yeah.
It's starting to feel like you're a slick way of saying, you can't do this. We don't believe in you. You know, it's taken on another meaning. I don't think Jace means it that way when he says it, but I think that's all Rhaenyra hears now, because people won't stop saying it to her. It's just taken on this whole other big meaning. It's calling her incompetent. It's calling her a bad ruler. You know, it's calling her weak. You know, all these things. Yeah, it's a shame that, because she has, like, on its face, a pretty good relationship with Jace. And she's able to have these, like, honest conversations with him about their roles, about how captive that she feels, how she feels is pinned down as he does. Like, he wants to fly off and do things and make change, and she also wants to fly off and take control of things, and neither of them are in a position to do that. So I really do. I feel like she knows better, but it's such an insecurity now. Anytime Daemon's name is mentioned, she just is like triggering for her now at this point. She doesn't think clearly. She hears that, and it's all she sees is red, you know? And Mysteria ends up answering the question from previous episode about the scars on her neck. She tells her, is it before or after? Because she tells her that I think that you're steadfast. I think that you could be queen. I think that comes later. Yeah, it does, because it's in reflection on what she says here. So because Rhaenyra is saying, like, I don't have anybody. And she says, you have me. And Rhaenyra says, I do, thank you, but walks away. And Mysteria is watching her with a sense of, like, not being satisfied, and seems to be like, what is it that I can say to give her some confidence here, you know? So she tells her about her father. What? I was just saying, you said to give her some confidence. And I think, like, at first I misunderstood when you said confidence, like trying to boost up Rhaenyra. But maybe it's more like confidence in, I said Rhaenyra. I think Mysteria tells her this story because she wants Rhaenyra to know that how much she trusts her. Yeah. And it's like a show of, I'm going to tell her this most vulnerable thing about me so that she knows when I'm telling her these things, I mean them. You know?
Exactly. So, yeah, she says that her father was raping her when she was a kid, and eventually he got her pregnant, and essentially just evidently stabbed her in the abdomen to abort the baby and dumped her somewhere and left her for dead. And she didn't die, but she can't bear children. And Rhaenyra is really like in this moment looking like she is so horrified she doesn't even know what to say. And she says, I swore never to trust anybody. And so far that has been pretty reliable because the world sucks mostly. And there aren't many people in it that are trustworthy. But I think you are. And you've seen me as worthy and as an equal even. Because of that, I will serve you. I believe you are meant to be queen. And Rhaenyra just rushes across the space and hugs her. And Mysaria is sort of taken off guard, takes a moment to respond, and then hugs her back. And the hug clearly starts to become more than just like a hug. And Rhaenyra is like nuzzling her neck a little bit, but you can't see Mysaria. And I was sort of like, how is she responding? And then by the time she sort of pulls away, it's clear Mysaria has been kissing her neck already, that was already started. And then the two of them start just making out. And it was pretty hot. I thought that they have really good chemistry. You know, I like the two of them. It's just so tedious to watch people make out on screen who are not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they're in the middle of like really seriously getting into it, and they get interrupted by somebody bringing news and have to like instantly part like they're 13 years old and they were supposed to leave their bedroom door open. They didn't. And this Queen's Guard comes in and is like, they've seen sea smoke above Old Town. And she's like, yeah, so I was making out over here. And he says, well, he had a rider. And she's like, what? They can't tell who it is, but they assume it's somebody from the Greens. And he says, should I summon your council? And Rhaenyra is like, nah, you know what? Fuck that. And she just gets on her dragon and she takes off. And her son comes running in after her and it's just like, hey, wait. But she's gone.
There's no waiting.
No waiting. She's got to know what's going on immediately.
Yeah. And she's been itching to get on her dragon anyway, so.
It's true.
Yeah, she just hops on that motherfucker and is in the wind.
The dragons look so cool.
Yeah, it's flying over some place called Spice Town, which, because you were like Old Town, and I was like, it went to Old Town?
Oh,
that's not,
right,
that sounds like a terrible idea.
Oh, God, yeah. At this point, you're right. See, I'm telling you, you're way better with the names.
That is not true.
It
Ever.
is, as evidenced several times in this episode alone, actually. I remind you that I did not remember Alan's name. I did not remember Hugh's name. You're the one who figured out Ironwood's name. Yeah.
Well, that's a turn.
Yeah,
and that's how it ends. Just her flying off to see what the hubbub is.
Yep.
So I guess she's gonna see who it is. Corlys is then going to have to acknowledge his son in front of God and men, because how else are you riding this dragon? Whose kid are you?
True enough.
Right? So that's one dragon down. We got two left of the 3 wild dragons that still need riders. And we got the dragon at the Vale. So, but we only have 2 episodes left. So, I don't know, y'all.
What do you think?
I don't know. The only thing that I had like a good idea about is a prediction that I felt pretty confident about was Sea Smoke. I thought that the blonde guy from King's Landing might get a dragon, but like he's still in King's Landing. So unless
with his cabbages,
unless like I mean, his wife had wanted to leave the city, but the gates were locked. I can't imagine. Like, maybe because of the riot, they opened the gates and are like, y'all motherfuckers can go if you're so unhappy here. But that would fly in the face of the whole reason Eamon was like, we don't want people knowing how bad things are. So we're going to shut the gate. So I don't know how Hugh gets the Dragonstone to become a rider. Like, I can't suss that out. So maybe that was just that's going nowhere. Oh well. Yeah. And then, like, I'm trying to think of who else. Maybe they'll just continue to introduce but they haven't really introduced any new people though.
It's awfully late to just like,
I mean, I know there's a season 3, so maybe not much else in this vein happens. Maybe we get one more rider, which the easiest would be to introduce a rider for whatever that dragon's name is in the Vale. Make it Rhaena, because we know her already. So then we have two more dragons, and maybe the other 2 that are still roaming around Dragonstone don't get riders till season 3. I don't know.
Oh boy.
I guess the next big thing that's going to happen will be at Harrenhal. If Daemon now has the Tully army and the Rivermen on his side, and we know that Cole is marching to meet the Lannisters and they're heading to Harrenhal, maybe that's like the big finale for this season, is the battle at Harrenhal, and it's Vhagar and these 2 new dragons, the Vale, Sea Smoke, because they won't let Rhaenyra ride. Maybe Rhaenyra does ride. Maybe she's like, you know what I need to do? I need to be on my dragon leading this war. That's probably not till season 3.
Could be. Why not?
So yeah. Because
don't answer that.
I'm not going to answer it.
All right. We really have to wrap up.
Yes, we do.
2 hours and 51 minutes. Y'all. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.